Japan 1645. A man feels death coming. His hands, which once held the deadliest katana in the land, now shake. He knows he has only days left to leave. Something that would change lives forever. You are about to find out what this famous samurai wrote and why it might be just what you need to stop being trapped by your own fears. But be careful. Once you know this, there is no going back. Imagine living without fear, without worry, without needing the opinions of others to feel good. It seems impossible, right? But in 1645, a famous samurai named Miyamoto Musashi did something amazing. He took all the wisdom from a lifetime of fights, wins and losses, and put it all into just 21 simple rules. These rules were not for other samurai. They were for himself. A final gift he left to the world before he died. And the most amazing thing, these same rules can solve 90% of the problems you face today. Do you know why? Because human problems have not changed. Only the situations have changed. The worry you feel in certain situations in your life is the same as that felt by a samurai before a fight. But of course, in completely different situations. Today, you are unlikely to be at risk of death like a samurai before a fight. The social pressure you feel at work is the same as that which existed in the Japanese imperial court. But here is the difference. Musashi found the solution. And today, you're going to find out exactly how to use this old philosophy in your modern life. In this video, we will not cover all 21 rules that Musashi wrote, but we will focus on some important rules that can change your view of the world. Before we dive in, you need to understand who this guy was. But first, I ask you to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and turn on the bell so you do not miss any new content. Now back to the video. Miyamoto Musashi was no ordinary samurai. At the age of 13, he had already killed a man in a duel. By the age of 30, he was unbeatable. There is no agreement among experts, but many believe he won more than 60 duels. He never lost a single one ever. But here is the plot twist. The more he won, the more he realized that the real fight was not against other samurai. It was against himself, against his own fears, desires, attachments, and weaknesses. And that is when he discovered something that would change everything. True strength does not come from beating others. It comes from beating yourself. And that is exactly what Dokkōdō teaches. Dokkōdō means the way of being alone or the way of walking alone. But be careful. It is not about staying away from people. It is about emotional independence. It is about not needing anyone to feel complete. Just think, how many times have you made decisions based on what others would think? How many times have you stopped yourself from doing something because you were afraid of being judged? How many times have you felt bad because you did not receive the praise you expected? Musashi understood one basic thing. As long as you depend on outside things to be happy, you will never be truly free. And true freedom is what makes a person unshakable. But how did he come to this conclusion? And more importantly, how can you use this in your life today? Do not worry. This is just the beginning. Let us get straight to the point. Of the 21 rules of Dokkōdō, there are 5 that can completely change your life. And the first of them goes against everything that modern society teaches you. Rule 1, do not seek pleasure for its own sake. Hold on. This does not mean you have to become a monk and give up everything. It means something much deeper. Do not be a slave to your desires. Think about it. Have you ever noticed how our society is based on instant fun? Netflix, fast food, online shopping, social media, all designed to give you an instant hit of dopamine. The problem is that this creates a mind dependency. When you seek pleasure for its own sake, you become a prisoner to your situations. If things do not go your way, you suffer. If you cannot get what you want, you become frustrated. You lose control. Musashi realized this 400 years ago. He who controls his desires controls his life. He who is controlled by his desires controls nothing. And here is the interesting part. When you stop desperately seeking pleasure, you strangely become happier because you no longer depend on outside things to feel good. Rule 2, do not hold on to things. This one is revolutionary in the modern world. We live in a society that teaches us that happiness is having more things, more money, more followers, more likes, more praise, more material goods. But Musashi discovered a harsh truth. The more you hold on to things, the more fragile you become, because everything you have can be lost. And when you lose something you were attached to, you lose a piece of yourself. This does not mean you should become a radical minimalist. It means you should have things, but things should not have you. The difference is subtle but powerful. When you do not hold on, you can lose everything and still be yourself. When you hold on, you lose yourself along with it. Rule 3, have no personal favorites about yourself. This is perhaps the hardest one to understand. What Musashi means is do not tie yourself to your favorites. Do not define yourself by what you like or do not like. Why? Because favorites change. If you tie yourself to them, you are on a constant emotional roller coaster. Today you like one thing, tomorrow something else. Today you feel one way, tomorrow something else. Unshakable people have an identity that goes beyond favorites. They know who they are no matter what they like or dislike at the moment. And that is freeing because you stop judging yourself based on temporary tastes and start to really know yourself. But calm down. The next rules will mess with your head even more. Now let us get to the rules that really separate ordinary people from extraordinary people. And get ready because what comes next goes against everything you have ever learned about relationships and success. Rule 4, do not seek to be loved or lovable. Sounds mean, right? Let me explain what that really means. Musashi is not telling you to be a horrible person. He is telling you to stop trying to please everyone. Stop changing your personality to be accepted. Stop putting yourself down so you do not get in the way. How many times have you said yes when you meant no? How many times have you pretended to agree with something just to avoid making trouble? How many times have you kept your opinion to yourself because you were afraid of not being accepted? This is seeking to be loved, and it is a prison. Unshakable. People do not need other people's approval to feel good about themselves. They are real, even if that means not pleasing everyone. And here is the strange part. When you stop trying to be liked, you become more attractive because being real pulls people in. People are drawn to those who have the courage to be true. Rule 5, do not be guided by feelings of lust or love. This is controversial, but I will explain exactly what Musashi meant. He is not telling you not to love or have relationships. He is telling you not to be a slave to those feelings, not to let them control your decisions. How many people do you know who make terrible decisions when they are in love, who give up their dreams for someone else, who become different people just to keep a relationship? Musashi understood that true love is not owning, it is mutual freedom. When you love someone without becoming dependent on that person, you offer the best of yourself. When you love desperately, you offer your weaknesses. And modern science confirms this. According to a study published by psychologists at the University of Rochester, people in relationships based on healthy interdependence rather than emotional dependence are 73% more likely to have long-lasting and satisfying relationships. A neuroscientist with over 20 years of experience in human behavior explained at a recent conference, when you do not need someone to feel complete, you can choose to be with that person for the right reasons. This creates a much stronger base for any relationship. But here is what no study can fully capture: the feeling of freedom that comes when you realize you do not need anything or anyone to be happy. It is like a giant weight has been lifted off your shoulders. And this brings us to the most powerful part of Dokkōdō: how to use it in practice in your daily life. Because theory without practice is just bar talk. Now, let's get to the point. How you can use these teachings to solve real problems in your modern life. And be prepared, because some of these methods will seem backward at first. Situation 1. Worry on social media. You know that bad feeling when you post something and it does not get the likes you were hoping for, or when you see other people who seem happier and more successful than you. This is exactly what Musashi was talking about when it comes to seeking outside praise. The solution to this, following the rules of Dokkōdō, is simple. Stop posting to impress. Only post when you really want to share something. And when you do post, do not check people's reactions every 5 minutes. Sounds impossible. Try this for a week. Every time you post something, ask yourself, am I posting this for myself or for others? If it is for others, do not post it. You will realize how most of your posts are motivated by praise. And when you stop doing that, you free yourself from a prison you did not even know existed. Situation 2. Pressure at work. Have you ever felt pressured to do whatever your boss asks of you, even when you know you're doing it wrong? Have you ever felt stressed because you cannot control how others see your work? If Musashi lived today, he would say, do your job with excellence, but do not get attached to the result. Do your best, but do not depend on the praise of others to feel good. In practice, this means focus on the process, not the outcome. You control the effort you put in, but you do not control how others will react. And when you stop stressing about what you cannot control, you become much more efficient at what really matters. Situation 3. Toxic relationships. How many times have you stayed in relationships, romantic, family, or friendship, that were bad for you just because you were afraid of being alone? The rule of Dokkōdō is clear. It is better to be alone and be true than to be with others and be false. Loneliness is not the absence of people. It is the absence of true connections. When you use this in practice, you stop tolerating disrespect. You stop putting yourself down to keep the peace. You stop pretending to be someone you are not, to be accepted. And here's the magic. When you do this, you naturally attract people who value you for who you really are. You trade quantity for quality. Situation 4. Buying too much and wanting material things. Have you ever bought something thinking it would make you happy only to have it last only a few days? Have you ever felt pressured to have things you do not need just to impress someone? Musashi lived with the bare minimum for years, not out of poverty, but by choice. He discovered that the less you need, the freer you are. This does not mean becoming a hermit or living like a beggar. It means knowing the difference between needs and wants. That it means having control over your purchases rather than being controlled by them. Try this before you buy anything non-essential. Wait 48 hours. If after That time you still want to buy it and can afford it without hurting your money. Do it. You will be surprised at how many sudden purchases you avoid. But there is a part of Dokkōdō that is even more deep and changing. But there is something about Dokkōdō that most people do not realize. Something that may sound scary at first, but is the key to real change. Musashi wrote 21 rules knowing that he had little time left to live. Many say that Musashi suffered from stomach cancer, so he was literally looking death in the face. And it was precisely this that gave him the total clarity to pick only what really matters. Here is the uncomfortable truth. We are all going to die too. You, me, everyone. The difference is at most, people live their lives pretending it will not happen. And so they waste time on things that do not matter. When you truly accept that you will die, not in a sad way, but in a real way, your priorities change completely. You stop worrying about what other people think. You stop putting off your dreams. You stop living the life other people expect of you. This is the last and most powerful lesson of Dokkōdō. Live as if you were going to die tomorrow, but prepare as if you were going to live forever. I can use another phrase to sum this up. St. Augustine also said, take care of your soul as if you were going to die tomorrow, and your body as if you were going to live forever. So, what does it really mean to be unshakable? It is not being without feelings. It is not being without pain. It is not being without fear. Being unshakable is having such a solid base in who you are that outside storms cannot knock you down. It is knowing that you can lose everything and still be yourself. It is the difference between being a leaf that blows in any wind and being a mountain that stands firm no matter the storm. Musashi achieved this through a lifetime of fights against others and against himself. You can achieve this by using the rules of Dokkōdō. It is not easy. It is not quick, but it is possible. And here is my final question for you. If you knew you only had 1 week to live, how would you live today? What fears would you let go of? What masks would you take off? What truths would you finally speak? You do not have to wait a week to find out. You can start now, because in the end, Dokkōdō is not about preparing to die. It is about finally starting to live. And if you have made it this far, congratulations. You have already taken the first step, because seeking knowledge that challenges you is in itself an act of courage. Now the question is, will you just stay with the knowledge, or will you have the courage to use it? The choice is yours. It always has been